now we will be seeing what is supporting references. Okay, so now you can choose your application to define, means once you have defined your rules and everything, once you have chosen like whatever is your source system and all, so you can define your supporting references. There are two types of supporting references. One is with balances, the second one is without balances. Now you have certain sources that you want to tag along with your journal entry lines. Some of the sources goes to your chart of account segments. You have 5 different sources, you're going to 5 different chart of account segments, and obviously you can post the journals, you can do reporting on top of it, and whatever you want to do on top of it, you can do that. Now for the scenarios,
Ashish, this supporting reference will be available in GL or only in subledger only?
Only in the subledger, only in the subledger. So when you drill down to your subledgers, then there it will be available. Now, if you want to store any additional value, let's say for example customer number or mortgage owner, maybe loan officer, these are certain values that you still want to store alongside that particular journal, not journal entry but the subledger transaction. So you can still store it and you can use it for reporting purposes as well. So you have two types, with balances, without balances. With balances will also calculate and store the balances along with whatever the journal entry is being created, and you can report on top of it. Without balances is just descriptive information that would be stored, nothing else. Okay, so you can use the analytic feature for the supporting references. Now we understand why we use a supporting reference. If we have a source, you want to tag it along with a specific journal, means subledger journal, then we can tag it along with it, with balance, without balances, which is not going to a chart of account segment. Obviously, if something is already going to a chart of account segment, there is no point creating a supporting reference again for it. Anything for which you do not have a chart of account segment, you want to do reporting on top of it, then you create a supporting reference. With balances, maximum you can create up till 30 segments, 30 supporting references, not segment, 30 supporting references you can create for with balances. So you can extend your accounting flex field without cluttering your GL with detailed subledger source information. You can write your analytics, use this supporting reference, use it in your analytics, and you can write those rules. Then the supporting reference are also a data items. You attach this supporting reference to your subledger journal entry rule set. So when you define your rule set, in the bottom for each journal line rule, you will attach a supporting reference to that particular journal line. So to maintain the balances, it will use your supporting reference plus the code combination ID to maintain the account balances. So whatever is your segment code combination ID plus the value in the supporting reference, it is going to store the balances. If it is with balances, without balances, it will just descriptive information. So like for example, sorry?
Are you going to show that how you attach the supporting references with CCID?
Yes.
And,
Yeah, we'll attach that. Don't worry. Okay, so you create the examples of your supporting references. Examples we have seen so many examples like in our source system that we have attached, like your mortgage owner, loan officer. All these can be customer number or the customer name. All this can be type of your supporting references for additional information. If let's say for example loan officer, I gave an example of how much loan a specific officer has processed and you want to know that particular information, so you can create it with balances. But if you just want maybe a customer number or some of that information just without any balances, just for reporting purposes, you can add it as without balances. You can only add maximum of 30 fields, 30 supporting references with balances. So you can do that. So these are some of the examples: project manager, project number, payee name, product, line, service. All of that you can use as a supporting references. So your when you do create accounting, also the balance calculation happens for your supporting references if it is with balances. in your subledger accounting transaction, it doesn't flows with the GL journal to the GL. But when you drill down, you can see the supporting references in the specific subledger transaction. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the system. I'll show you first of all, where do you define these supporting references and how do you attach it to the journal entry rule set.
So ask you just few questions like on supporting references. So I think when you upload first time, when you define your subledger, correct? At that time you need to make sure you capture all of them, correct? In order to map it to the supporting reference.
First time that you upload the file, so I didn't get your question there. So you say,
so like, sorry, I mean like let's say we have 10 additional information I want to bring in from my mortgage application or some other third-party application. So I need to define those are the attributes at the beginning of the definition of subledger, correct?
Perfect, right, absolutely. So you can add it later also. The source, those are nothing but the sources. So you can add the sources later also manually if you have forgotten.
Yeah, and second thing, like how it going to reconcile that balances, because now you said like going to maintain the balance, and and what would be the best practice, like should we go with balance or without balance? I know it may be specific to business needs, but your experience.
It is specific to business need, and businesses choose to have it with balance also, because this is majorly for analytics purpose. Why do you need additional information with balance? First of all, the question is that the only reason for that is majorly analytics purposes. So if you have some kind of analytics in your source system, which is storing the information like that, for example, each loan officer, how much loan they have processed or something, that sort of information, then you can do the reconciliation. If the source system does not have that information, then obviously you cannot reconcile, but you can still write your analytics on top of it, correct?
Yeah. So basically the example like I would have, let's say I was using SAGE for fixed asset, correct? And I'm not maintaining in Fusion or any other places, like, but still I wanted to make sure I should have some balances by capital assets or by lease kind of assets or some projects.
Correct. So like for example, you have projects or any project number or anything, you can project number and all is not a good example of having with balances, but you can still have them as with balances as well. That is completely based on the analytics needs. If the business wants to do some analysis on the balances of that particular value, then obviously they can go for and decide for it.
It looks like a very powerful feature actually.
Yeah, right. So it can actually extend your chart of accounts basically. Okay, so now we can define the supporting references with balance, without balances. Currently I cannot add, I can only add maximum of 30 supporting references. I can probably just change the name here and this is active, and instead of this source I'll delete this source that somebody else has defined, and so I'll just use this as my source. And similarly you can define it without balances as well. Okay, so defining it is very simple. Now we have defined almost all our configuration. you have to attach this configuration to your subledger journal entry rule sets. So the first thing that you attach to your journal entry rule sets is your debit and credit lines, the configuration that we did first. So I'm going to go to my rule sets, create a rule set first of all. Now you had a question that for which event type am I going to process these particular journal lines. Now this is how where you are going to select what is your event type. Okay. For your loan origination, you can write this and this is the place where you will choose your event type. Choose your structure instance here. Transaction date is coming from your attributes, your standard sources or mandatory attributes. Now I'm going to choose my debit and credit line. I'm going to choose my default combination. I'm going to choose my entity combination. Though my account combination will be visible here, I don't want to choose my account combination because I've written it for loan origination only, and all my segments I can override here. If I scroll towards the right, and I can choose my line description rule. Why the description rule is not available here? Somehow it is missed.
Well, we do a simple search, just a search. Save it.
There is nothing else. There is nothing there. It's completely blank. I'll just quickly write one. Now this also has to be active. By default it becomes as active. Now when I go to my rule sets, I can see my description rule. Similarly, I will add my debit line. Now I will add my loan origination account code as well and my description rule. Now I have added all my rules. This is my journal entry rule set. Okay, so I will create this rule set for each event type, for loan origination, for interest, income, and for all of that, and you will attach those whatever is your line rules inside each of your event classes, basically your event types and event classes both. And in the bottom section, you will attach your supporting references to whichever CCID, whatever CCID this line is going to generate, and you want a supporting reference for it, you just add a supporting references here. Now, can you tell me, we have so many supporting references, why only 2 are coming here? We had so many other supporting references as well.
Those are the 2 attached to the ledger application.
These are the 2 sources basically which is there for our source subledger application, correct? Loan officer and mortgage owner. You can attach only one, so once you have attached it, the other one will stop appearing. Similarly, you can attach it to the cash combination also if you want. Usually we don't, means you don't want a loan officer there. If you want it, sorry, I have to add a supporting reference. Select that line and
Aish, in case of a same description rule, we can add at the general entry level, right? Header level.
You can, because you will have this description, that is, it will go, these description will go to your journal lines also.
Okay.
So this description would go to the journal header, this description would go to the journal line. So you can define 2 rules, one for the header, one for the line, and attach the header one here and line one in the bottom section.
So why it is not showing anyway? Because we did not mention it as a line level rule, right? When we created.
Correct.
So why it is not showing?
Line level. No, 1 second. Line level. You don't need to define. Let me just check that. We might be having certain line level attributes. I think we have loan rate here, right? That is a line level source. Okay, now this particular journal entry rule set is incomplete. After adding that, go to the actions, change status, activate this. If now, after activating this, you just go and change any account rule, any mapping set, any description rule that has been attached to this rule set, this rule will automatically become inactive. Make sure or remember, if you are making edits to any mapping set or any other attribute, come and activate this rule again. Okay, now I'm going to define my subledger accounting method. Now in this particular section, I can see my A2F bank loan application, subledger application. I can see my other souls like the seeded subledger applications as well. I can say A2F loan, or maybe A2F just IFRS. Now the best way to define your accounting methods for if you are implementing both your seeded subledgers as well as this particular subledger, because you can only attach one accounting method to the ledger, you cannot attach multiple ones. We have these subledgers available here, so copy a seeded one, just duplicate a seeded one. Right now I'm just doing it, creating from scratch so that you understand. But if you are implementing both of your subledgers as well as external subledgers and internal, then you can just copy the seeded accrual ones come and make change to the A2F bank loan and any other changes that you want to do for your any other subledgers. Attach your journal entry rule set here. This is your event type, and this is my event rule. Any start date, end date, active, activate this. Now, if you make any changes, again, not to say anything, if you make changes to any of the rules, this would become inactive. You have to every time come and make it as active. Okay. So if I go inside assets, cash management, everything is incomplete right now. There's nothing inside this. If you see this standard accrual method, all my rule sets are already there inside this. So usually if you are implementing any of your subledgers as well as your external subledgers, you duplicate the rule and you do not create it from scratch. So keep this thing in mind, otherwise it will be a nightmare to add all these rule sets inside each of the subledgers. You cannot do that. That's not possible. Now the last step is to attach your subledger accounting method. Just check whether your subledger accounting method is active or not. So this is active. You can attach this to your ledger. So you go inside here, you have this A2F IFRS accounting method. Change this accounting method. You can anytime change this. Right? So you create your journal entry rule sets, attach it to the rule sets, and attach all your journal line rules, description rules, account rules, supporting references, any header line level attributes. After attaching all of that, you attach your accounting method to your ledgers. And once you have attached your accounting methods to the ledger, then all the accounting rules will be impacting only this particular ledger. So if you want to attach the same accounting method to the secondary ledger as well, you can do that. But if you want a different representation, maybe in US GAAP or something, you have to define the complete steps again for the accounting method for your secondary ledgers, and you attach a different accounting method to your secondary ledgers. Thank you everyone.
Thank you.